housing market. Get the latest insights right here.
Welcome back to Indie Housing Market. I'm Kyle.morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker.
I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group and FC Tucker.
And today we have Mark Fisher, who is the CEO of Indiana Association of Realtors, right?
Yes.
IAR.
IAR.
We've had you on before, but we like to have people back on and we need an update on the market. It's a different kind of market right now and how everything is going on in the state. But more importantly, we want to remind people what you do, what IAR does, what their involvement is. When we have you on, you guys do so much, and to have you explain that in a short clip is impossible. So the more we can have you on, the more people are educated and know what we have as a resource within this state. And not just that, protection for agents, which is also, whether we like it or not, it implies then a protection for consumers as well.
That's right. Absolutely.
So we'll let you kind of explain in a snippet what IAR does, and then we can kind of dig into that a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity because, as we talked, realtors know their local association. It's a point of entry.
Yeah.
Their access to the MLS oftentimes, and much more community-based. NAR with the Code of Ethics. Unfortunately, been in the news a little bit lately. So the state association can get a little disconnected from the members. So we really try to make sure that we're out and about as much as possible, visiting local associations, visiting brokerages. We really focus on 4 key areas. One is legal and risk reduction. So your statewide forms, our legal hotline for managing brokers or their designees, our legal updates, making sure that we are reducing your risk, the brokerage risk, and the risk for the association. And to your point, a lot of that means we're also proactively looking for ways to protect the consumer, because if we can protect the consumer, we're also protecting you.
Correct.
Next is advocacy and political affairs. So we, in that 3-way agreement, NAR handles federal, Congress and federal agencies. MIBOR and our local partners handle city councils, mayor's offices, plan commissions, zoning boards, that sort of thing. And then we at the state level handle the legislature, the governor's office, various state agencies, the attorney general's office, the real estate commission, PLA, and really push pro-home ownership policies at the state level, licensure law, private property rights, and the like. So we're protecting your bottom line, protecting consumers, protecting the industry at the State House.
So it's interesting. I almost want to go backwards through there. We'll start with the home ownership rights. Especially we have, I'm sure you've heard about what's going on here with Carmel and Fishers, right?
I like to call that modern day redlining.
Oh, that's really good. That is interesting. So you guys were, obviously it's involved on a local basis.
Right.
And then they reach out to you, I'm assuming, for resources as well. Right?
Yes. So
because there's a fear it could spread.
That's right.
Correct? Okay.
So I will say that you all are very well served by MIBOR and their government affairs team.
Yes,
I've worked with them
are.
my entire career. They
Chris
do a
Pryor,
great job.
yes.
Unfortunately, some local elected officials just can't help themselves. This is a populist issue. It sounds great, but the data do not back up the assertions that they're making about large institutional investors, right? And so while
it's gaslighting almost.
where their motivations, around affordability and helping first-time home buyers get into the market sound great, doesn't really match reality of what's going on the ground. And so you're right, this started at the local level. I know that Chris and his team had been working for a year on trying to help shape it and maybe stop it. That wasn't going to happen. And so it's passed at the local level at Fishers and Carmel. It is now up to us to address this at the state level.
And have you been?
We have been very clear with the local elected officials that we intend to take this to the General Assembly and address this at the State House. We're not a home rule state, so anything from a regulatory or tax perspective that local governments want to do have to be granted specific permission by the General Assembly. The counties and municipalities and towns, they're all creations of the state. So there's state statutes that govern what they can and cannot do.
Correct.
So we're going to take this to the state level. We've already told them we believe this is already illegal.
So
that it already violates a lot of state laws.
Yeah.
There's a lot of legal analysis out there on this. That still didn't work. So we're going to take this to the General Assembly and clarify what they can and cannot do.
So the argument is that the city did not have the authority to make a decision of that nature based on the overriding state policy.
We believe that it is currently not allowed, and
unless there will be a change, right?
Still, we're going to clarify that it's not allowed.
Okay.
And when is this going to happen?
General Assembly meets January, so they meet. They start in January. Short sessions, which is coming up, they'll end mid-March. Long sessions, which are budget sessions, which we just got out of, goes till the end of April. And so this will be a short session. It'll be intense. There's going to be a lot of things going on, but we do intend to take this to the General Assembly and address it at that level.
And do you think that other cities are right behind Carmel and Fishers right now?
I think a lot of cities are watching to see, because we've made clear, others have made clear that we intend to take this to the state level.
So it'll hold off.
So I think that is where a lot of these communities are. Is just say, why not wait to see what the General Assembly does, what not, maybe even the courts do. But so I think that's where we are right now, with other cities and municipalities adopting something similar. But it was a first in the nation.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this could be a slippery slope everywhere.
Exactly.
I can't even think of a lot of places it would apply, even though people would pick it up, right? Like, so I think there's some suburbs around Indy, obviously, like you got Carmel, Fishers, obviously, it could happen to a Greenwood, for example, a Brownsburg, but then you have, like, I could see this applying into a Nashville. I don't really want to say Evansville because it's such a college town, but like a suburb of Chicago, right? Like a Gary, Maryville, or maybe like Clarksville, where it's a suburb of Louisville.
And what we don't want is this patchwork, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Of what is essentially restricting private property rights.
Yes.
And so we're going to address this to create a statewide policy. We do this on other issues too. For instance, in St. Joe County, which is South Bend, they were requiring every house that had a septic tank to get that septic tank inspected before they could transfer a property, and they had to pay a transfer fee. You all are good realtors. You're already telling your clients to get inspections, but we don't require them by law. And so we had a big problem, one, with required inspection to the transfer fee. And so that has been clarified at the state level as well, and that is no longer happening.
Interesting.
So we need to make sure that we have, at some level, a uniform policies across the state when it comes to private property rights.
So what's the IAR take, or maybe they don't even have one, on the homestead exemption, that, right? Like, so we have a homestead exemption, and now like that is going away, and it's kind of just rolled in to a certain, I mean, that's kind of dumbing it down to a certain extent.
Well, you're talking about the
change in property tax.
The property tax reform. Well, they've actually made it more favorable to homeowners.
Agree.
Right, and so by 2031, homeowners will only be paying 1%, unless there's a referendum on top of that, of 1/3 of their assessed valuation. So we have the best housing, residential property tax system in the nation, and we've worked very hard to preserve that. That is an advantage. That advantage has been slipping away. We don't support elimination of property taxes for many reasons. One, it is a steady revenue stream for local governments. It is a steady and predictable, which means that they can bond for cheaper amounts. And if they eliminate property tax, or the state eliminates a income tax, for instance, they're going to get their money somewhere. And the proposal we keep hearing is a sales tax on services, which means
it'd be like Florida or something, or services. It'd be us.
It'd be you. It'd be our friends in title. It'd be our friends in mortgage. Our friends in inspections. Anybody that you bring into a house to get a house ready for sale, or to correct something that came through in an inspection. We did an analysis, and it added between $1,200 and $1,400 to every transaction, to the average transaction in Indiana. So
average transaction would be at what, 3?
This was 12 years. This is 2 years ago, so it's a little bit dated. But you can just see it's, and so instead of paying 2.9% income tax on your commissions, you're now paying a 7% sales tax on commissions.
Yeah.
So that is the second thing we do at the state level. And the third thing we do is education and professional development. So we have a leadership academy, much like Real. You don't have to go to the Real to come up to our leadership academy, although that seems to be a common step or common process. But we also have own RECP, and we provide all of our members member benefit continuing education at no additional cost. We don't call it free. Because you're paying for it in your dues.
I take that every year, and
I
told you about it. And that's one thing we talk about, is trying to get realtors out there to understand what IAR offers, because it's just kind of another step of, what does my board do? What does IAR do? What does NAR do? And the RECP is an excellent source.
So we really try to identify what we're inherently going to do better than our local or national partners can do, and then try to stay in our lane. Differentiated services, that is the benefit of that three-way agreement between the local, state, and national. So when we focus on our 4 key services, when it comes to education, RACP, FC Tucker, I know, does a great job at in-person continuing education. Brokerages do a good job. We know that local associations across the state do CE, in-person CE. We try to partner with brokerages. We try to partner with local associations. But we want you to take your CE wherever you can get it. We also know that realtors can sometimes procrastinate on their continuing education.
No,
That's me.
Well, I know this because we had 1,000 people start their CE the last week of the CE cycle.
that was me. Yeah, I missed the Tucker one. I had a closing. And
So
I couldn't
but
do
that's
it.
right.
Yeah.
You have life. You're
Yeah.
busy. You are.
I'm
at the,
defending myself.
You're at the whim of
Forget
your.
the 4 months in between when I missed it.
Yeah, right. It's not like it lasts a full year or anything.
I do everything. I have a sign in my office that says if it weren't for the last minute, I wouldn't get anything done, and that is me. So, but
Hey,
I think
there's
that's a
nothing like
realtor,
deadline
right?
To create results, right?
Yes.
under pressure.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So we provide this member benefit continuing education because we take professionalism very seriously. And if
Thank
we're going
you.
to take it seriously, we have to give you the resources. This year with our CE cycle, we also are offering NAR's Code of Ethics class, which all realtors need to have, and the new requirement for a fair housing class. We've thrown in one on our 140 plus forms that we have. There's a form for that, is the title of that CE class, and then one on AI and ChatGPT in the real estate business.
that'd
And
be
so,
interesting.
That'll
those
be
are
good.
available right now. Again, we don't care where you get your CE, but you got to get it done.
You have
We
to,
take
right?
it so seriously that we went to the General Assembly this year, and the professional licensing agency was only auditing CE compliance every 3 years. We went and changed the statute to require it every year.
That's good.
And you found what when you did that?
When they did it, 30% of the people that they audited were not in compliance.
Wow.
Over $130,000 worth of fines were issued. The IREC agenda is full of people trying to get their license back after it was suspended for non-compliance. So we take it very seriously. We just tell you, take your CE no matter where you get it.
Yeah. It's not that bad. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy it.
I think you learned something from it. I mean, I like learning, so
Yeah.
I'm always trying to learn. But I love that they're doing AI this
And
year.
apologies, but now Jim Litton can see all of your CE progress. So we've provided a tool to managing brokers. They don't have to chase you down to get your CE certificates anymore. We've provided a one-stop shop.
Yep, I love
A
that.
direct feed from PLA. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
If we don't have it in our system, PLA doesn't have it in their system.
Yeah.
We know schools, although they're required by law to upload certificates to the PLA system, they don't always do that. And so make sure that you have your certificates as a backup. We kind of have this RACP upload guarantee, but we miss it sometimes, not often, but we correct it very quickly.
That's why I either do the Tucker one or I do just straight through IAR.
Yeah.
And you know what, though, I will say, there's nothing keeping you from doing both because it is something to
That's right.
learn. It's all about learning more about the business. And so the Tucker one is fabulous as well. There's nothing you're going to not learn. I'm sorry, I don't even want to say that. But if you're sitting in the Tucker one, you're going to walk away with some great information. And if you go and
Yeah.
do the CE, I look at it as just going to a class.
And we're trying to do more of the special designation. So last year we pushed over 1,000 people through the ABR class. The nice thing about it, if you took the ABR through RACP, that was a full year worth of continuing education.
Nice.
It was 12 credit hours. So right after our fall conference on this Tuesday morning, we had bias override in our office. So we're trying to offer more in-person classes, partner with brokerages, but again, we don't care where you take your CE. Take your CE though.
Well, it's the law, right?
That is the law. It is the
It
law.
is something
Follow
that
the
you need to
basics of
do.
the law.
But when you guys mentioned on Monday what you were talking about, how many people didn't do it, 30%.
Of the audited. I mean, 30%
Of
what was
audited,
audited.
correct.
It could be higher or lower, right? But that's bad. That's really, really
Yeah,
bad.
so I wanted you to also talk about the housing hub.
Yeah,
I
so
think
that's the fourth.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Our fourth service that we provide our members is market insights and data analytics. So we have a direct data feed from the 8 MLS marketplaces in the state of Indiana. We have a data sharing agreement with them that doesn't allow us to disaggregate data. So you can't get on and look at a specific property, or you can't get on and see somebody's specific production. What we've done is look at the marketplace, and we have a data scientist, works really closely with Brad Coffin at MyBor, sharp guy.
Yeah, he's
We try to not just provide you the raw data. Our data scientist specializes in data visualization, so all the charts and graphs are provided for you. You can create your own charts and graphs, and then everything's downloadable for your own purposes. But then we try to interpret the data and bring in other data points besides what comes through the MLS. So looking at interest rate data, looking at labor market data, looking at demographic shifts and population growth data. And then we're trying to look at unique things about real estate that drive property value. So we've done original research on the impact of proximity to lakes and trails and streams to property values. We've looked at impact of communities investing in density and quality of life investments on property values and housing markets. So we're trying to not just give you raw data, but give you a sense of what's happening in the broader market and the broader economy.
That's interesting. I mean, all of that information, you can do with it what you want to a certain extent, right? And so we've always talked about, like, the numbers are what they are. It's like, but what is the story that they tell, right? And it's be spun a false narrative. I know, like, in the past for myself, you're talking about, water views, right? Or urban dense areas or whatever. Like, I had to do it before specifically for, ironically for like sober living facilities and stuff like that, or a treatment facility, and everybody's like, oh, location matters and it drops property values. And I pulled up national studies that show no drop in. Well, actually, I take that back. There was one, I was very honest about the information I had. It shows no drop in value for sober living or treatment facility. The only thing it actually ever did was if you were in proximity specifically to a methadone clinic, ironically, there were stats for that. But anything else, there was literally no drop in property value because of NIMBY and all that other stuff.
So a good example is we also don't just provide this data, and we get back to providing data to our members and how they need to use it, but we also use the data to inform policymakers. So the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, MyBor works closely with the Indy Partnership, your regional economic development group. Indiana Housing Community Development Authority, the legislators, the fiscal leaders that are looking at property tax reform. We are utilizing the data that we get from those MLSs to help them make more informed decisions. A good example of this is Noblesville had a large housing development that was a mixed
by
use.
Morris. That one?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
unfortunately, on this
we talked about that on the podcast.
That were using information that was not accurate about the impact of townhomes and whether they were selling or whether they decreased value. We worked very closely with MyBor to produce data that showed just the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And so NIMBYism, I think, is the biggest threat. Why do we care so much about combating NIMBYism?
So for anybody who doesn't know, that's not in my backyard. That's what that stands for.
It is now cheaper to rent than it is to buy in the top 50 metro areas in America. That means
that's interesting that you say that, because we have talked in this podcast years before. Don't rent.
Well,
and now
good renters make good home buyers. And by the way, 38 years old, national average for the first time home
buyers.
So
that's crazy.
People are forming families. They want to get invested in communities. So they should be able to enter into a community as a renter as they save up for that down payment, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yes.
But inventory, we're about 30,000 single family units short in the state. We have a good problem. We're growing as a state, especially in central Indiana. Central Indiana, I think, is accounted for 90% of the state's growth in population. You have a growing economy, growing wages, growing population. Our housing policy has not kept pace. And so we have long-term inventory challenges, and we need to continue to look at unique ways and innovative ways to deliver more inventory. So that's why we're so focused on helping people understand it's not just apartments. We need good apartments. We need affordable housing. We need workforce housing. We need single-family housing. We need all types of housing.
Yeah, people don't understand when how these. I wish agents and people would get more involved in how actually complex issues are, right? Even what happened up in Kokomo with the lithium-ion plants, right? Yeah. They built these massive billion-dollar complex, and they didn't have housing for workers, right?
Yeah.
They actually have built up there a work camp.
Yeah.
It's like I don't
Turning barns into dormitories.
Yeah, 100%. Just because we didn't even have housing to
Yes.
create the commerce that we need to improve the community.
Well,
So we work with a lot of communities. South Bend being a good example. Same situation with the new Carlisle plant.
Yeah.
How do you be proactive in thinking about your housing inventory? As Lawrence Yun, NAR's economist, says, no houses, no people, no jobs.
Yep.
Well, and then also when I know Indiana's trying to get jobs to come here, any
Right.
corporation to come here, one of the first parts of the package that they ask is, if we come, can you house my people?
Yes.
And that's a big Indiana question, or any state's question is, we'd love to come there. Your taxes are great, but
You don't have the housing.
what are you going to do with my people when they come?
Right.
And that becomes a major issue. But you were talking about how the population growth and people are coming here. I mean, I get calls all the time from Illinois. They want away from that tax problem all day long,
Yep.
and just to come to the state next to them, just to get out of it.
It's crazy. People complain about property taxes here, and I'm like, we have it so good.
Because people are coming here to say thank God for your property
Yeah, I know,
taxes,
it's
and then
crazy.
people here are like, oh, it's horrible. But
We have
they've
whole
n-
sections of Illinois that are trying to secede from their state.
Correct.
To
Come
join.
over here.
Correct.
Now, whether we want them or not, those
Different
counties
story.
are not. I don't know.
But it is interesting. Like I felt like Hancock County did a really good job. They built all of this kind of industrial down off of 70 and
Yep.
Mount Comfort.
Yep.
But they, at the same time as all of that, because you've got the Amazon complex out there, you've got a Walmart complex out there.
Yeah, they went
but at the
crazy.
same time, they were doing massive, pretty affordable housing out there, right? And so they were like, they were trying to supply not just the construction, but of people who could live there. And I know at one point they were also looking to build an entire neighborhood that was solely for just renters.
Yeah.
Right there. And like
Built
they
for
were
rent,
trying,
yeah.
they were trying to figure out all these ways to actually navigate this because they were proactive ahead of time. Whereas like, and I don't know what was going on with Kokomo, whether they did or they didn't, but I don't know if they anticipated that level of consumption of
Right.
housing when that went in. Yeah.
So with a lot of these smaller communities across the state, Central Indiana, Northwest Indiana, down near the Jefferson, New Albany area, you've got big production builders that can build at scale. A lot of smaller communities don't, and so we've looked at ways that can assist builders, hopefully allow communities to induce a little bit more housing development. So we've created a revolving loan fund at the state level. Communities can tap into it, very low interest loan. They can extend infrastructure. Hopefully that induces more housing development, and then they can create a housing TIF around that new development, recapture that assessed valuation to repay that loan. Because we heard from the builders that, it was the time uncertainty, the regulatory uncertainty, the cost associated with extending water, sewer, and the like, was really inhibiting development, especially in these smaller communities.
We dealt with it over in Lebanon, right? With when they were putting in the new Eli Lilly.
Yeah.
Like there was this massive conversation about the water. And
Yeah,
everything. It was,
that's a different story.
yeah, but
That's water, yeah.
but they have talked about that. I think if IAR is involved in this, but talking about getting some of these rules and whatever, every step that somebody has to take to even do this,
Yeah.
getting them pulled back a little bit because there's so much regulatory stuff that has to happen that is overkill, maybe is the word some people are saying. We need to pull that back.
Yeah.
Is IAR working on
Yeah,
all of that?
it's one of those things that we do believe that local communities should be able to have zoning laws, right?
Yeah.
Zoning laws do create some separation. Zoning laws really came into effect when kind of industrialization of America. You have the factories over here, the homes over here.
Yeah.
So we don't oppose zoning laws. We do have a lot of concerns that there are overly restrictive zoning laws, that there are zoning laws that are intended to lock people out of the market.
it's almost punitive to a certain extent. Like, hey, you can't come here
Yes,
unless
right.
Yeah.
And so we haven't supported the efforts to disallow local governments from, say, requiring brick facades, and that's been an effort at the State House. We've not jumped on board with that, not to that extent, but we do. One of the incentives you can get to tap into that infrastructure loan fund is that you've had to done a housing study. You have to have looked at your zoning codes.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we do have broad concerns about overly restrictive zoning codes, but we're not like, anti-zoning at all, right?
I mean, you say the brick facade. That just makes me think of Carmel and the Lowe's.
I don't know.
Because we have, at least this was the urban legend. We have the most Carmel has the most expensive Lowe's in the nation because it required a full brick facade. It's the only Lowe's in the nation that is like fully wrapped in brick. You know?
Imagine
but guess
that.
what? They still came. It's like top producing store. Like it does just fine. So another thing that we were talking, you were talking about regulation and all these other things. So we have a new form. Right,
A few.
The seller disclosure form.
Yeah.
Right. So I got questions here, and I'm just curious as an agent how it worked behind the scenes. So I get notified that I have to do a new form, which I actually big proponent of the new form, and it captures more. And now we have like age of mechanicals. And
love
some
that
other
part.
Things. Yeah. But I was given to it, but told it was effective 2 months prior to when I was given it. So it was effective July 1st, and I was told about it 3 weeks ago or whatever.
Okay, so I don't
want to throw Tucker under the bus because I don't know how it all worked, right? So
this is the one form that IAR does not produce. All your transactional forms. So Tucker has your own listing agreement.
Yeah.
Your
Right.
transaction. So the purchase agreement, all the 140 plus forms we have in our forms library.
Yeah.
This is the one form that we do not produce. This is one mandated by the state, and it's produced by the Real Estate Commission.
Okay.
And it's professional licensing agency.
That's
We
interesting.
have one of our attorneys. We have 3 attorneys on staff. One of our attorneys works directly with the Real Estate Commission and PLA, and have been working on this form for 4 years. So there are 2 ways
we
that
missed it by 2 months.
well, it's a deeper
know,
story than that.
it's way more complex.
There are 2 ways really that form gets changed. One is by administrative rule, and that's working through the Real Estate Commission to adopt new policies. And then there's the statutory route. So going to the legislature and creating a state law.
Okay.
So there was a law passed this past legislative session that added 2 things. It was the if you're in a historic district, and then maybe a historic easement. I think those are the 2 changes. That law
Conservancy.
The conservancy. There you go. The conservancy easement. That law went into effect July 1.
Yeah.
When all laws go into effect unless there's an emergency. So that went into effect July 1. And we're waiting, been working on this form for 4 years. And we finally had to go to them and say, you're 3 months behind schedule of a statutory change, not one that the Real Estate Commission has done through administrative rulemaking, but a state law that the legislature has passed. You have not produced a new form. You're liable. It's increasing the liability and risk for our members. We really need you to get this done. And it was done. And then we got it released. And then we noticed, then we got a flood of emails saying there were some typos on it. And so then we had to go back. So yes.
And now it's fillable. Now it's fillable as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's getting there. It's
but
getting
that's
there.
one of the things that we do at IAR is work directly with the Real Estate Commission and Professional Licensing Agency on those issues on the behalf of our members. So even though we don't create that form, we are at the table as that form is being created.
Well, and everybody needs to understand it needs to be changed on your active listings right now.
Yes.
Anything
are not to
signed
be
after
changed.
July 1st.
Yeah, so any listing after July 1st needs to be changed. I specifically was getting ready to write an offer yesterday on an offer, and I asked for it, and that agent didn't know anything about it, and basically said no. We have one, and it's provided. So that's not being given out in certain ways, and I just want to make sure everybody understands. If I ask for it, I mean, I'm not just
So
making
we were,
stuff up.
one, it's the law, right?
Yeah.
2, we were talking about this earlier. The resources that our members have at their fingertips, from the BLC to the legal to the data, to the advocacy, everything, we've provided it.
Yeah, pay attention.
We issue capital and market to all members once a month. We have our legal updates, legal matters quarterly, goes to all members on a quarterly basis. We have our managing broker advisories that go directly to managing brokers. And then we have other communications, our capital view, which is our legislative. We need to do a better job of giving our members the tools so they can select what they want to get from us. But right now, you should be getting it. You should be reading it. If you're not reading it, you're missing out.
The legal one I do because it gives case study examples.
That's right.
Like, so I've always thought that was really, really, so it's interesting. I didn't know about capital market, but I knew about
Yeah, we
it.
learned
After
it.
I had
we
me last
learned
time,
it
right,
from
Because I'm like, I
you.
don't want to get in
And now
trouble.
you look and you're like, wow, look at all this
There's
great
so much.
information.
Great
There's just
information.
so
It's a
much.
newsletter you get every month called Capital and Market. I thought it was something about Indianapolis out there that was, and we didn't know.
Yeah.
But this is the kind of things that we're talking about
We need to
as a
send it
real
to the-
estate agent.
For the listeners out there, Capital Market happens to be the intersection of
Correct.
where,
We know
where
that now.
our realtor
Is.
building
Where that
with
big sign is
with
that
the
says
5-story
real-
realtor sign across the street from the
Is it
governor's
5
office.
stories?
Yes, it's a 5-story realtor sign. I love
So-
people. So where's your office? It's the one with the 5-story realtor sign.
Yeah,
You can't
it's
miss
hard
it.
to miss.
But that is the cross section.
Yes.
But those are the kind of things we've been talking about, and why, if I can say real quickly,
And
that
I feel like we're engaged and don't know.
Yeah.
Like that's
well, yeah,
what's crazy.
and we find out a lot from doing this show from our guests. But that is one of the reasons why I'm running for the board. And I'll just say that really quick on my board is I only know because I am engaged and I talk to people and I go to events. Go to your division board meetings. Go to the summits that's coming up this summer. Go to events. Read your emails. Pay attention if it's coming from IAR or whatever. But there is so much information out there. If you can just start paying attention, it's important.
And we get it. You're busy. One of the things we've done is we've built a recording studio. And so we're trying to do more audio and more visual. We know that realtors are on the move. So we need to be producing and conveying information and communicating how our members are consuming information.
Yeah.
So,
I wish you would send a text with a hyperlink.
well, we're working on different, and it'd have to be an opt-in, but we are, as part of our strat plan, looking at different ways to convey message. But we do try to hit our members 3 times. One, we give it to the local associations. So any communication we send out, especially to the managing brokers, we send simultaneously to the local associations. 2, we hit those managing brokers before we hit the general membership. And then 3, we're going to communicate directly to our membership. We're trying to make sure that if you're not getting it, if you're not opening Capital Market, you're still getting our communications through a different venue, through your local association communications or through your managing broker.
But also give the website of where they can go if they just today at 8 o'clock in the morning go, I want to find out what's going on. What's the website they can go to?
IndianaRealtors.com, and then the data hub is data.indianarealtors.com. You use your same login that you'd use to access your forms, and it's a great resource. And we were talking earlier, it is really imperative as the market dynamics shift, and especially if you look at a map of real estate activity in the nation, it's a really bifurcated market.
Yeah.
Those markets that were super hot during COVID, so think South and West, they are really
Sedona,
suffering.
Vegas,
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix, Austin,
Florida's
Florida.
really bad just because of
Florida.
the hurricanes as well.
Yeah.
So
Insurance.
So those markets will drive news cycles. And so your clients may be hearing something about a housing market that isn't relevant to your market.
Correct.
And so the best thing you can do is be the true market expert.
But it's really hard. You know, we talk about professionalism and all these other things, and like I can't get people to give feedback on houses, for goodness sakes. Like it's just so bad. And I'm
My
asking
feedback
people,
form is working.
It is? I'm
Yes.
gonna steal it. So I just think like I'm very blessed and she's very blessed. Like I do enough business. Like I have an insane like pulse on the market just from volume and all this other things. Like I can tell what's a trend and what isn't, what's unique and acute. And like most agents just don't have that, right? And I don't think it's intentional. It's like lack of education to even educate yourself,
Right.
You know, and it's like, how do we get people to just do more, try harder, do better? You know,
Well, the ones
It
that do
matters.
are the ones that are going to succeed.
correct, 100%. There's a lot of, I always tell people like I've seen a lot of amazing agents quit before they became amazing agents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because they just got discouraged and they didn't find the mentor, the person who could help them to even point them in the right direction.
But the stats and everything that you need are available
They are.
in my
Somebody called me
board,
this week.
IAR.
We want to sit down with how we do our stats. Like
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, next time you do
Hey,
your
look at
stats.
our video. We have a 1-minute market that goes out every week.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. We talk about
The
statewide
state.
data. Our data hub, you can go from zip code all the way up to statewide data.
Yeah.
It's all
You're not going
there.
to get individual properties, but you can get zip code, you can get neighborhood, there's property tax explainers, all these resources there. Why is that important? Because as we were talking earlier, the consumer mindset may not match reality. And that is both on the buyer side
You think?
and on the seller side. So how do you utilize the data that you get through the BLC or get through our data hub or get through RPR to manage your clients' expectations better. Because if you can manage those clients' expectations better, the transaction is going to go smoother. They're going to be happier. It's not. I'm not going to say that it's going to be not complicated. Every transaction is complicated, but that is one thing you can control, is helping them better understand what is actually happening in the market.
And that's on us. And then when we're not educated enough, we're providing disinformation.
We're the
to
problem.
the consumer base.
If you're not providing the information correctly, you're the problem.
Statewide, for 6 months, nearly half of all listings have had a price drop.
Yeah.
That's telling me that either the realtor isn't advising their client correctly, or the client's not listening to the realtor.
Right.
And part of that, my guess is client's expectations are not where the current market is. So bringing facts, people don't care about your feelings; they care about your facts. So bringing facts and data to the table shows that you know what's going on. You're the professional. You are the expert.
One thing I was told when I first started was like scripts, I do your scripts. And one of the things that was said, that it was like, I'm here to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I just thought that was so rude. But I say it all the time now.
Yeah.
I say it all the time now with confidence, because I am not here to tell you what you're thinking, what you've heard. The neighbor down the street did this, or, last year, 2 years ago, because people's time, the time warp is when they're thinking it happened last year, it was really like 3 years ago. And they just, so I say that all the time now, because I am here to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
I'm not a realtor. I'm a consumer. I bought a house last year. I used a realtor because I don't know what I don't know. And I trust somebody. I need that advice. What did James Dwiggins say at our conference this week?
He was awesome.
Thank you. He is awesome. If
Oh
you
my
don't listen
gosh.
to his podcast,
I'm going to be listening to his podcast. I'd love to write that one down for everybody.
Realtors often act as therapists, right?
Yes. And I have a psychology degree, thank goodness.
And you only get paid when you're closed. Your job is to get them to the closing table, right? And so how many times did my realtor, it should be a logical process, but it's so emotional. How many times did my realtor say, calm down, let's get back, just make a little counter offer, give a little here, give a little there. And we got the transaction completed. I love my house. I wouldn't change it for the world. But there were several times I'm like, I'm done. These people are just, I cannot.
They won't budge. They want everything.
They want everything. That is insane. And so, he walked me back to the table several times. And so that is what you do. It's not a necessarily rational process, but the more facts you can bring, minimize the emotion.
Correct.
Well, yeah, it's
because you can't argue about it.
And there are different mindsets out there, right? So we've got the engineer, we've got the artist,
right.
we've got all the different people, and
Right.
you have to work with your client the way they work.
That's right.
So that was hard for me because I'm not the engineer. But when you get an engineer mind in front of you, they want to see these stats, and they want to know, where are you coming up with this? And you guys provide all of that. It's right there at your fingertips. So I know you came with some stats.
Oh,
if you want to, if you can pull up what you were talking about. I know you started with the fact that we have had past 6 months, 50% of homes have had a price drop. And you know what? You're talking about whether or not they had been told in the beginning what the price should have been is one thing. But I do think in the past 6 months, we've seen a market shift where things are changing.
That's right.
And if you've been listed, if you listed 3 months ago and you're still on the market, the price changes are happening because the market's changing too. So we were saying, give your expectations to your seller up front. Today we can do that. But when we were giving the expectations 3 months ago and they're still on the market, we have to do a price drop because not that we're saying prices are dropping, but the market is changing. So paying attention once you hit the market to what's still happening as you're there is important as well. You don't just list it and walk away and wait for the
2021 to 2020 and
3.5.
It was just we're such anomalous markets.
Yeah, nothing normal.
So and especially when we have a lot of our members that had not seen a down market or
Correct.
these market shifts, or what's an inspection response, right?
Yeah.
And so it's actually getting back to basics.
Correct. It's a normal market. We keep saying.
The consumer expectation may have not caught up, or on the buy side, the consumers are saying, we are, everything's crashing around us. Well, statewide, now this is statewide data and all markets are local. We're up 1% for the year on sales volume. We're up 4% in prices. So it's not crashing, right? Now, different markets are behaving a little bit differently, but that consumer sentiment that either the market's crashing or it's 2021 and I need to get, I'm not even going to get an inspection, right? Those are vastly different positions for a seller and a buyer to be in.
I agree. I think the thing so like the data supports that. The experience is different right now. Yeah. The sales cycle and the sales process is different, and we're not educating the consumer well enough on that. Like the market is what it always is, right? Your expectations, to your point, of like how long this is going to take, what this is going to look like, what your options are. Like I can remember when I used to have to, hey, there's 2 offers. I need to know in like an hour or 2 if you want to buy this house. And now it's kind of like, well, let's look at it again next week. Also see what else pops up next Thursday.
That's just
inventory's up. Consumers, the buyers have more options, so they're going to be a bit more discerning than that. Oh, if we don't make an offer now, we're never going to get a house, right? Yeah. Which is still in the zeitgeist, still in the mindset of a lot of consumers.
Well, we're hearing a lot about it's like 2019 again. Yeah. We're back to 2019, which is a normal market. Just go through the process, but know what you're looking at with stats up front and compare it. We're back to, and I've said this in the past, I used to hold 30 listings at a time.
Yeah.
I look at that now and think, oh my God, that was crazy. And how did I do it? But we were talking to our sellers once a week. Right. And we were looking at what happened last week, just like we do for those stats for the podcast. Every, whatever day it was, we were talking to our sellers. You should be doing that again.
Right. It'll be interesting to see as we roll into September here what withdrawals look like.
Yeah.
Because people didn't hit kind of the summer cycle. Josh had put something out. One of my team members saw it. Our buddy Josh Dilmagani. That you like when you're comping a house, you should even look at what was withdrawn and like what happened and like why did it not perform.
Call it.
Can't comp against it, but like
call that agent.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone too. Reach out and touch somebody.
And I talk about this too. Is everybody talks about it a competitive market? We are not competitors. We are colleagues. When we work together, it works a lot better. And that is one thing. I remember just about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I had an agent call me. It was so refreshing. He goes, we're not getting showings. What's happening with you? And we talked together and we helped each other in that conversation. We are not competitors. We are colleagues, and we are here to help everybody, buyers and sellers, to come together. And I don't understand the competitive mindset of some agents.
But we're lucky because we do this, so I know what I don't feel like I'm in a vacuum. And if you don't have the support within, it's not even the broker's fault or whatever. It's up to you as the agent to be involved and engaged. Same as like the education piece, right? I get those phone calls, right? Like we've talked about this a ton. Like, hey, we've got this house in this neighborhood. What's it like? And he's like, we've only had 1 showing, and I was like, I'll trade you. I've had 0. But they don't know, and they feel so often they don't know how to handle their seller or their consumer, which then creates this larger narrative.
Our most downloaded graphic on our data hub is called The Price is Right. And our
I've seen that one.
Analysis of original list price to final sale price in the correlation to days on market. And how many times you drop your price by percentage, how many more days on the market you can expect it to sit there. So again, using that type of information to manage on the sell side, hey, I say we should be here. If you really want to be here, that's great. But this is how long.
Expect this timeline.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What is your preference? Because it is ultimately up to that seller of what they want. But at least you're bringing them data to show them what the trade-offs are in those different options.
We had one and we were dealing with an offer and all, and they, seller didn't like it. And I was like, okay, if we say no to this, I need you to know, like in 90 days, when you're asking me why this, we had something to dance with here, we joked about it. She's my friend, and she's like, I don't know about 90 days, but I'm good for 60.
You had the conversation, though. Exactly, you have to have the guts to have the conversation. If you just let the seller take control of the wheel, then you should not be the one that's behind the wheel. Not behind the wheel.
We are making a decision here, and this may be our potential future, and I need you to be okay with that future. If you're okay with that future, then we're okay with it.
But if you don't have the data to back that up, but if you do, it takes some of that emotion,
right? Because
then it conjecture, right?
It doesn't sound salesy. It doesn't sound like, because that's the concern. Like, people think, I just want to drop the price, or I want to do this so I can get paid. Like, I could care less. Like, I'm fine. Right. This is actually about the data supports what I'm saying. and
Right.
I'm trying to help you.
You're the true market expert.
Yeah, it's just not that
So
complicated.
before we finish up and go
Yeah.
into the stats for the local market, what is something we haven't touched on that you really want to make sure everybody knows, hears?
It's just really, it'll get back to the resources that are provided to our members and how we work with our local partners to support our membership. It's all about taking advantage of it. And so we take professionalism seriously. We want people to be the true market experts. We are trying to make sure that you can take advantage of it. We're looking at ways to use AI to create greater access to our services. So for instance, on our data hub, we have an AI chatbot now. You can just get on and ask it a question instead of having to sift through all the data points, right? We're trying to do that with our legal library, with our legal Q&A. The resources are out there, but it is up to the individual member. One thing that we've really done is focus on the managing broker. We believe that we will better serve our 21,000 realtors across the state of Indiana if we can deepen our relationship with the managing broker. Because professionalism starts with the managing broker, and so we want to give them the resources. If you want to access it directly from us, you can, but we're going to also give it to your managing broker so they can distribute the information as well.
I wonder how many managing brokers you have that manage 10 or more.
Yeah, so there are 5,000 managing brokers in the state for 6,000 licensees. We are actually launching, Kim Ward, our statewide president, and I are launching on a 19 presentations in 12 days, hour and a half functions focused on the smaller managing broker. We've done a great job.
Because they already have a lot on their plate, right?
And so we want to make sure that we're using their time wisely, but we need to make sure that they understand what resources we're providing them and how they can access it to the benefit of their brokerage and their realtors.
Well, I could see that if, they're realtors as well.
They're
many times.
player coaches, right?
So for them too, if they don't know what's going on or have all that information in front of them, they can't disseminate it. So for you're taking the one step to these people so they can spread it out even farther, and that's very helpful.
One other plug is our PAC.
Yes.
Because we and I think Chris touched on it. It sounds weird coming from a guy I've spent 22 years as a state house lobbyist, working with MIBOR on the local issues as well in my previous life. I'm not a big fan of politics these days. I think it's really divisive.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. But the fact is, we are in a regulated industry, and even though you may not have an interest in government or politics, politicians in the government have an interest in you, in your bottom line, in your pocketbooks. And so our PAC makes sure that we have a seat at the table when decisions impacting your industry, your livelihood are made. So our PAC is critically important to make sure that we can continue to protect your bottom line at the State House, that MIBOR can protect, thriving communities in Central Indiana, and then our partners at the national level. We've got good, responsive politicians at the national level for things like the flood insurance or the FHA and the VA loans and all of these things. That is what our PAC ensures that we have a seat at that table for.
Well, I mean, it matters for COVID. Perfect example, right? When deemed essential, right? Tax on services.
Lockdown on a Thursday, you guys are doing business on a Monday.
Yeah. Thank goodness. I would have.
That goes over really well in South Bend, by the way, because they have a lot of agents that are dual licensed in Michigan, and they couldn't do business until June.
Really?
In Michigan?
In Michigan, but
Yeah.
they could.
Yeah, they could do it.
3 days later.
I kind of have a thing where I'm doing my appointments if I have to go to like the Greenwood area or whatever. I try to not do them after 3:30 or 4 to come back home, right, or to drive through that. And during the COVID part of like driving around 465 by myself, I'm like, this is
crazy.
awesome. Like, there's nobody out.
It was like doomsday stuff.
It was very
Like tumbleweeds
strange,
down the
but it
street.
was very strange. But I had
Felt like
465
what
to
you're doing was
myself.
illegal.
Yeah, it's like, should I
Yeah,
be out
right.
here? Yeah, it was strange. But yes, but that's one thing we can't do as a person, one person. We can't.
right.
Our PAC is there to have our back, and they're not doing things that there's nothing we can do on our own, and the only thing we can do on our own is to donate money to our PAC
No,
or get
you can
involved. You can get
vote,
involved.
Act, invest. But
So-
get involved.
Yeah, get involved. And
Time, resources, money, right? I the part too that it goes back to the political climate. Nobody trusts anybody anymore, right? And like people are like, well, they just want to get paid, and you're giving them
Right.
money. Like, no, they have my best interests at heart. Like, and not only that, like I have data points,
Right.
of support where they have actually been beneficial to me, and not just me, but my client and my consumers.
I mean, if every agent, you said 26,000, gave $50, wow,
Right.
and
Right.
it's
It helped.
it
It makes a big difference.
does.
It would.
So
And then we could do text notifications.
Working on it.
okay,
Yeah, so you gave him a website, everything like that. We'll go into the stats real quick because he did give the stats for the past 6 months. And I know we talk a lot about it here. Honestly, everything's pretty much kind of holding steady, in my opinion. Like, I'm kind of like waxing and waning by like 8. In Fishers, I had 38 go on the market, anywhere from like 230 to 1.1, well, more like 1.2 million. 27 are still on the market, 9 pended in a week, right? But 35 actually pended. So that goes back to like people have options. So 9 hit that perfect price point and they sold within the week, but 35, that goes back to like we're up, what was it you said, 4%, right? Or
On prices, 1%, yeah.
1% on volume, 4% on prices, right? So that 35 number is indicative of that. Average days on market is 42, the median is 13. It's basically it's fluctuating within 5 days. Medians come down a little bit, but obviously that comes into play with anything that's stale on the market. That comes off. And then in Noblesville, we had 51 hit the market, anywhere from 99,000 to 1.2. 44 are still on the market. 7 of them sold within a week, but 26 pended. So interesting thing there for Noblesville. Noblesville picked up a ton of inventory, and not a lot of it sold. I mean, like half of it in comparison to Fishers. It's really interesting that, we are into September and we're continuing to pick up more and more inventory. It's not like people are discouraged from listing. So that's kind of like this back end piece of consumer confidence. Average days on market is 31. The median is 12. So even though people are concerned about the market, people are still listing.
Yeah.
They're still listening and they're still buying. And quite honestly, they're listing in larger numbers. It's the reality of it. Over the past, oh my gosh, I mean,
They don't want to miss the market.
I mean, for like 6 months. I mean, I'm basically fluctuating within 10 of how many are going on the market every week.
Steady. Slow and steady. Here's your way.
Yeah, totally.
well, the Carmel's the same. 44 hit the market last 7 days, and so 13 total of those pended. The average days on market for the 7 that pended was 24. The median was 11. So we're talking about houses that are sitting. They're not sitting. I mean, 24 average days on market for the past 7 days. And if we look at the past 30 days, 115 sold in Carmel with the average days of 19 and median of 10. So that is staying the same. What's interesting that happened in Carmel, active homes, 214. We now have 18 more than last week. But the average days on market for the active sittings were cut in half. It's now 42 for the average days on market for active. It was in the 80s.
A couple stale ones came
Yep. But it's showing. I mean, Carmel. I mean, you're looking at a month and a half. Westfield, 37 hit the market. 8 of those pended. A total of 28 pended. Average days on market, 51. Median, 24. 270 are currently active. 111 of those are new builds. Their average days on market is 73, but again, that's including all the new builds. In the past 30 days, 138 did sell. Average days on market, 27, and median 8, staying the same in Westfield, but still it's looking at 30 days for the past 30 days, 1 month. Zionsville, 11 hit the market. Only 1 of those pended, a total of 6 pended, but the average days on market was 124 and 18 median. I took out the 2. 1 was 236 days on the market. 1 was 457 days on the market. So if we look at get rid of those, the 4 that pended, the average days on median was both 12.
Yeah.
So
I'd be willing to. I actually pretty sure I know what that 457 one is.
It was over 2 million.
Yeah, it's the one that's over in Promontory, that new construction one maybe. And then, I mean, you're looking at some different price points that, it's a longer sales cycle for some of those anyways.
Well, it gets back to how you were saying earlier about taking the data and actually spitting it out correctly instead of just like taking an over-encompassing information and try to just say, oh, that's what it is.
You need to know what it means.
But I'm looking at 124 average days on market if I don't get rid of the outliers, and we are at 12. That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So use the data properly. Don't just look at it blanket and then say, oh, that's it, because
Especially
that makes
on
a big
such
difference.
Low volume city.
Yeah.
You're talking like 12 and 24.
It went from 6 to 4.
Yeah.
And that went from 124 to 12. So I just wanted to make that in regards to if you're going to use your data, make sure you're using it properly and not just spitting it out.
Right.
And even we're guilty of it sometimes. There's times where I have time to pull out and extrapolate things to a certain level. And, sometimes we just do it on the fly and we'll say, like, that seems high. It's because of stale ones. Like, I'm glad you actually did the math on that one to show what it would be, because usually we just tell people, like, hey, this is high. It's really probably more this, but, we've got some stale ones. Like, as we were going through our list, we saw it. So I'm glad you actually, like, did longhand math on this one to show people what we actually mean.
Well, yeah, and so in Zionsville, 93 are currently on the market, staying the same at about 74 days on market average for any actives, and the 54 that sold in the past 30 days, the average days on market was 31, median 13. So everything's staying pretty steady. Another thing I wanted to talk about stats, which was really interesting. I do my newsletter once a month, and we throw out about 6 of the counties, MyBor stats that they show. You can do this per, August versus last August, and I did all of that. And the one that stood out so much, so Carmel's average average price was about 450, I think was what it said versus last August, what our average sale price is. Brown County's was over 500. And I was like, that's just odd.
Acreage.
Yep.
Yeah, so you have to, so we put it out there because that's the infographic we have, right? And it said 500. And I have had clients reach out to me and go, how is Brown County? And they don't even live in Brown County, but we all know Brown County is weird to be higher than Hamilton County. And you have to know what did that come from.
Right.
And it came from everything. And also there's the lake homes down there in Sweetwater. Some are, we sold 5 over $1 million. It's
if you have low volume, 1 or 2, transactions can really skew the data.
Not just that, like, you got to think, like, if the economy is in a downturn, people are going to offload secondary properties, right?
Yeah.
And where would the secondary property be for, like, Metro Indy? Brown County is one of the top places, right?
Yeah.
So, but you have to be able to think about it more than just like, hey, this infographic says it's $500K to live in there.
Yeah.
Right.
But you also have to know, too, if you're looking at all the stats, is to do it on a constant basis to go, that's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you start to see the spikes or the drops.
Yeah, like to
Peaks and
know
valleys.
without anything else around it that that's not correct.
Right.
Or it's not normal, and to figure out why. But anyway, thank you so much.
thanks for
It's
having
always
me.
so good to have you here, and everybody needs to really
We got to have
dive
you again
into
to
the
tell more. Yeah.
dive into IAR and everything that they provide, because it
RPAC.
is awesome. But the Housing Hub, absolutely make sure you get a hold of that and look at that, and just pay attention to your emails. I know we get a lot, but sometimes there's some really good information in there for you. So
And
how
do
can
your
they get?
CE.
And
Yep.
do your CE.
Goodness gracious, because now they're tracking.
Yes.
Winking.
Go ahead and give the information you'd like to give out.
No, just want to say thank you for having me. Visit our data hub, data.indianarealtors.com. If you have any suggestions, we really want to hear feedback. So, and people have feedback for us. We want to know how we can better serve our members. So, feel free to reach out.
Thank you so much. I'm Shelly Walters with the Shelly Walters Realty Group in FC Tucker. You can reach me at 317-201-2601.
I'm Kyle Morris with Morris Property Group and FC Tucker. My number is 317-649-5122.